Welcome, Keith Witten, to another Resonance Radio podcast. Discussing ideas that resonate across time and space.
I like it. It's like champagne.
Got some herbal tea going. Lemon balm and calendula from the garden.
Right next to the fire circle.
Yep. Ooh, Fire Circle podcast. That's a fun idea.
Ooh, that is a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. You could do it outside, right? Have a single microphone, pass it around. Whoever's got the mic talks.
Talking circle.
Yeah. I got to say, it's like walking into your house, how it's so well organized, and it's quite different. It's a whole different atmosphere. Coming here for a podcast, it's like it feels very intentional and kind of remarkable, actually. It's different from any other time I've come here for a podcast. As we've had a bunch of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But something about walking from that room into this room now, I don't know, it seemed different.
But it had everything to do with that room, because this room's no different.
Yeah, this room may be worse, but maybe it's just in comparison to that. That seems very welcoming and inviting. So it's like you walk into that, and then it's like, okay, we're doing the podcast. And, yeah.
The overall atmosphere of intentionality and the sacredness of the space. The temple, there's like a temple atmosphere of the whole space.
Yeah.
That then makes this room more inviting or special or intentional or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange. Not that strange.
Which is, you've said as much in times past,
Well, I know we're, I like to think what we're getting together for is primarily science, programming and building astronomical calendar clocks and stuff like this. But there's also, I've become more and more aware that there's also a really spiritual thing that's going on here. In terms of like the Toltec teachings that we're both studying, and I've been, I'm back to working on my well, it's not my autobiography. It's a book I call Monad Genesis.
Oh,
but it's got a lot of autobiographical stuff in it also. Those are great, and just that book is more and more influenced by Toltec stuff. I bring up inorganic beings as part of the in the garden. It's like day 3, the creation of plants. I now see those original plants as inorganic plants.
Interesting.
In the sense that they're like plasma channels. But they turn into gradually plants as we know them.
Yeah, plants evolve or form into these plasma channels. They're like organically. Before there were plants, there were still these like plasma channels emanating vertically away from the planet, just like my little plasma sphere in the other room.
Exactly like that little plasma sphere, yeah. So yeah, it's like, and that's an idea. It's like the inorganic life is something that I've been very curious about understanding. Just Carlos Castaneda talked about these inorganic beings. His teacher Don Juan carried around a little power bag of power objects, and he basically had 4 allies that he told Carlos Castaneda were basically, were basically inorganic beings, these allies, and he could communicate with them or get them to do his bidding or will by controlling his emotions. Somehow the emotions were what the inorganic beings would react to or feed off of, or this sort of thing. So I've always been trying to figure out exactly what is an inorganic being. And this, yeah, there you go. There you go, inorganic plants. But yeah, they converge on the
those little
Earth.
Emanations from the center sphere, and if we can really see it, but it's almost like those could represent trees emanating outward from the center point of the planet, gravitational center.
Yeah, very much so.
Whoa. This thing is really messing with the USB power. That one of the cameras just went down.
Oh no.
These Tesla coils, they're like radio transmitters, frequency. They do all sorts of weird stuff to the power source. Uh-oh, did I just blow out this camera?
There it is.
Oh. And we're back. All right. Anyway, you were saying.
Well, just that that Toltec idea, this concept or whatever, to me it added a big connecting piece between my understanding of cosmology. It's like cosmology. It's like I've been considering this cosmology related to the Genesis story, and what distinguishes it for me is that it's what I consider to be a cosmology of life, not the cosmology of an inorganic solar system or universe, out of which supposedly sometime much later, after it's already developed, this inorganic solar system or universe, somehow life emerges out of this inorganic or non-living universe.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, life can only emerge out of life. So you either have to extend your definition of life to include inorganic life and organic life. So there's two types of life, organic and inorganic. And the inorganic life is somehow able to arise out of very simple beginnings. And I've been contemplating what it would take. It would require awareness, memory, and intelligence at the very least. And a particular form which brings about a split in awareness of the other. It's like two polarities, basically.
Yeah, which, I mean, in the Toltec book 2, it's talking about awareness as having the two polarities, right? There's the dividing and then the unifying.
Yep, exactly.
The two, and I forget there's some naming there around those two polarities. But, yeah. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yep.
Similar idea.
Yep.
And then what? Therefore,
well, I guess I'm pretty excited about. We had breakfast this morning, and we want to. I guess we haven't met in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about working on an astrology program.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working on that, and I came up with this idea for a chart with that combined geocentric and heliocentric elements. But we kind of left that in the dust and really went off on a pretty amazing tangent, which I thought was pretty remarkable in the sense that it's like when I think about it, astrology is this idea of that the macro dimensions are affecting the micro dimensions, the universe or the solar system is somehow having an impact on our tiny little bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be some form of resonance between the two, right, to enact this influence. And so there has to be some organic relationship, you know. It's and what we kind of came up with is we incorporated gender into astrology, which to me is that's a huge step. It's a step that has been missing in astrology. They maybe, is there any astrology in ordinary gender?
I mean, I'm so unaware of astrology. I'm not the one to ask, but I'm unaware of any.
Yeah, I don't know of any way that they've characterized the chart to include some reference to gender. So we somehow, and I guess most of this was kind of Thomas's, well, we were, you know, zipping back and forth between ideas, but how do we come to this idea?
So maybe it might be useful to actually look at the app to
let's show
give a sense of why I had the crazy idea.
I mean, you know, this is based upon the Monad app, especially chakra mode, and we've had a figure in chakra mode. I call it the great man, based upon, there's this quote that the solar system is a great man. Man is a small solar system. But that man was a very generic, here it is. The solar system is a great man. Man is a small solar system.
Let's get it into our, oops. External monitor is not showing up in, let me just play with this for a moment. There we go. Is that live? Yeah, okay, we're live with that. Okay, so it's just the great man. Man is a small solar system. Yeah.
And we've got a representation of this great man in chakra mode. So here he is. This is the great man. But as you can see, he's not male or female. It's just this generic being, right?
But he does have a little bit more of a masculine, stereotypical body.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have breast.
There's some. Yeah, there's some stereotype to the form that's a bit more masculine.
Yep. So, I mean, that was a good step. I think that what's missing or has been missing in astrology is some, you know, you look at a chart and it's this, you know, it's a circle. It's got these planets moving around it. There's no indication that this thing has any living connection except maybe it resembles an amoeba or something, right? But it certainly doesn't resemble a human body. Which astrology is somehow saying that human bodies are affected by these things. Well, where, how, what's the mechanism? What's the connection? How is it related? So we, you know, this is indicating that the planets they form chakras or organs of influence within the body. But this is still kind of abstract until you bring in gender.
Yeah, and the way we got there had everything to do. So we were exploring this idea of. So to me, there's something really significant about Monad in particular, in Monad and the three-dimensional view of the solar system relationship, or the relationship between the solar system and the planets and this figure. And one of the really interesting pieces of that is potentially this idea of the planets and, well, the declination of the planets, that the planets and the sun go back and forth between the northern and the southern hemisphere. So like if we accelerate time, especially we can see it if we go into geocentric mode. So like having this three-dimensionality, we can really see how the planets and the sun are moving into the northern hemisphere and into the southern hemisphere of the Earth's frame of reference when we have a coordinate system, that's connected as we're looking at here, the equatorial coordinate system, which is based around the equator and based around the rotation of the planet. So if we use that as our frame of reference, then the planets and the sun kind of go back and forth between northern and southern hemisphere, and you've already correlated that. There are these three grand correlations between solar system and human body in terms of biological cycles, or there's a phrase that you use. Biorhythms.
Yeah.
So the fastest one, the Earth's rotation, is correlated with the heart rate, heartbeat.
Yep.
The medium one is the orbit of the moon.
A lunar month going through the phases. Yep.
Is correlated with the breath.
Yep.
And then the annual cycle, the sun going left and right, is with the swara.
And when he's talking about the sun going left and right, I mean, you don't see that in a regular heliocentric illustration of the Earth. You only see it when you hold the sun and Earth in a fixed orientation. Then you can see how the sun actually is moving across the equatorial plane back and forth, left and right. So left is the north hemisphere and right is the south hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and left and right kind of, it's this idea of like looking at the Earth from this perspective of either this way or this way. And in chakra mode, you had decided to give it an orientation of top, bottom, back, front, right, and left. And as we were exploring this, I was kind of imagining, so the orientation here you described as being because of the moon, that when you were imagining, do you want to talk about like why you what's the correlation with front and back in relation to the moon?
Well, the first of all, here's top to bottom. Front and back are pretty obvious, right? Mm-hmm. And then left and right are related to the north and south hemispheres of the Earth. Mm-hmm. And at one time we had this assigned the opposite. Mm. I got, and it was because of the moon, because you could change front and back and left and right based upon the one thing you can't change is top to bottom. Mm-hmm. Right? The sun is always the top. The bottom is that vertical orientation. There's no getting around that.
Yep.
But front and back is arguably, which direction is front and back? Is north, the north hemisphere of Earth, the left side or the right side? Mm-hmm. So it's open to interpretation to a certain extent. And originally I had it the opposite of what it shows here, because I imagine that this body is walking or moving through the solar system. So it's like walking on a treadmill in a certain sense, right?
Right.
So the stars would be moving under its feet. It would be moving forward through space. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, then you've got the north hemisphere as the right side, mm-hmm. and the south hemisphere as the left side. And that made sense to me because the north hemisphere of the Earth is where 90% of the population lives. And our current civilization is very much a right brain or a left brain civilization.
right hand side of the body, dominant,
Yeah.
the right-handedness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that all made sense to me, with the exception of the moon.
Mm.
The moon, when you do that, then the moon is going up the front of the body and down the back of the body.
Uh-huh.
So when I meditate and I try to superimpose this figure on my body,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is an interesting idea,
Yeah.
then I would have to reverse the flow of what I thought would be the more natural way of breathing or conceptualizing a breath, where you've got the moon moves from a full moon down at the base of your spine, up your back, passes through a dark moon at the top of the top of your the torso, basically, and then down the front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
But
so that brings us to this morning, and in trying to think about, so the context for the conversation this morning is attempting to formulate an astrology that brings in this left-right nature of the planets being left in this left or right orientation in relation to, and that's only possible if we choose an equatorial frame of reference. Because if we're in an ecliptical plane frame of reference, which is true here for chakra, the planets are pretty much just always right on that center line. There's very little deviation of left and right.
Yeah, the only planet that deviates is really Pluto.
It's Pluto. Yeah, and the orbits are slightly tilted, but so small that it's not really, it doesn't seem like that very...
Not enough to have like a physiological impact that you would think.
Yeah, but if we choose an equatorial frame, then the planets are very much either left or right, depending on just upon their position in their normal orbit. And depending on where the Earth is in its orbit, it's very left or right. So that's an interesting way of framing it in order to explore. And then the sun is also very much left or right, which then gives some kind of substance to this idea of association with the swara.
Exactly, yeah. In fact, the movement back and forth of this sun is what I originally thought of as modeling the swara.
Right.
It's like when the sun is on the left side, it's Ida Pingala.
I think at some point we were even entertaining the idea of naming the app the swara.
Yeah, we did actually. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so in exploring this, like, to me, the sun, looking at the sun as being associated with the swara, there's this very strong correlation with the right-hand side being like summer.
Pingala.
Like Pingala, it's the right, it's dominant, it's more masculine, it's outward, it's, very, very summer-ish.
Yep.
Which would be the sun being in the northern hemisphere, which
which is wrong.
is this way. Yeah, and then the sun being in the southern hemisphere, it would be winter if we're in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And Scorpio, so associating it for me with my sign is Scorpio. It's when the sun is in Scorpio's winter is more inward, darker. And to me, that's fitting these stereotypes of being left, and in the Toltec tradition, which is what kind of my frame of reference I'm exploring because I'm studying these books right now. Left is that more Ida, more inward, more feminine, more the unseen. But that's the opposite of how it's currently oriented in chakra mode, And so that kind of brought up this idea then we were talking about the moon. But exploring the moon and the breath, I remembered having this tantric relationship in which I was circulating my energy in this way of like that matches the moon in this thing, but then was like bringing that energy into the other person, which would imply, and I don't know, we didn't get to that level of I don't remember if she was circulating her energy in the opposite direction or not, but just that bare minimum idea of like, what if,
Yeah.
brings up this idea of, oh, well, what if there was two different figures, a masculine and a feminine figure that were oriented in an opposite direction? What would that mean? And then that's how we got to this idea of like, well, what if both are true in different ways?
Yeah. It brings up for me just immediately gender.
Yeah.
Just because gender is more than just an XY chromosome thing.
Yeah.
It also is a state of mind. I think it's like you brought up the David Dieta book about women.
Consciousness being the masculine and women being like emotion or something.
Right.
But consciousness is a universal. Emotion to me is a subcategory. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but the idea is interesting though, that there is a polarized awareness.
There's a complementarity. With an opposite polarity. Yeah, that's pretty.
One is inward
universal.
directed, the other one is outward directed.
Yep.
Which is not to say that men go through within the body. You've got Ida Pingala also.
Right. True.
So we have male and female within our bodies, but we have one gender, which makes that for us, Pingala is more our natural state to a certain extent.
Or that's the association.
That's the association
with our symbology. Yep.
For women, it's the opposite. They identify more with Ida or whatever. So it just made sense actually that maybe these two figures should be facing in different directions to emphasize the physiological differences, the polarity between them.
Yeah.
And it's like if you back this thing up a little bit, so that we can see the whole figure, or the whole planetary dial. So this figure is facing in this direction. If that's the male figure, a female figure, if you were to place her on this zone here, sharing the same
alignment,
crown chakra alignment,
vertical alignment.
Yeah, then she would be facing this direction. So the idea is, from an astrological perspective, if you wanted to show both bodies, let's say this one is born at whatever this, here's the sign, the sun is in this sign, and let's say that she was born in this sign over here, then her body would be aligned along this direction. And they would be approaching each other in a certain sense. Versus if she was over here, they would be looking away from each other. It's evocative of a relationship that I want to explore that,
right,
in terms of how does that work? What does that have meaning for the people that share that alignment? This is what astrology does. They look for meaning and then try to explain it in relation to the alignment of the planets, or the alignment of these bodies, for instance, right?
Yep.
So to me, it's worthy of exploration.
Yeah.
And the fact that it does introduce gender and the possibility of relationships, and we were talking about what was the thing that there's gender, but there's also orientation, right? A lot of interesting possibilities.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think it's going to be, Oh, right. And then a whole nother layer that emerged was the aspect of having a degree of choice when setting up your chart. It kind of presents this idea of like the little questionnaire, like, what's your birthday?
Yep.
What's your biological gender? What's your orientation? Because you could be like, I have a male body, but I have an orientation of the feminine orientation, which implies flipping your figure, even though it's a male figure, let's say, flipped the other direction. And to what degree does that shift things? And does that feel more congruent with one's orientation? And it's an interesting way of like putting both biological gender and masculine feminine orientation as two different layers.
Yep.
Identity versus biology into the equation, and providing for choice. And then also there could even be a setting where someone could flip the figures for, as the default even. So like there's choice in the matter, giving people choice to explore. So like, hypothetically there could be, and especially when we get into like comparing like couples charts, if it was two men, they might have both male figures, like they both have male biology, but then one of them might identify more as the feminine orientation and have a flipped figure. And then so there'd be two male figures, but one flipped. What does that look like?
Yep.
And vice versa. Two female, lesbian couple might have two female figures, but one flipped. One is the more masculine of the two. Interesting things to play with.
Yeah, a lot of curious stuff.
And then also we could have an androgynous, a gender neutral figure, and so I like that. I like the idea of having the fluidity or the flexibility for anybody who wants to use it and explore these things, having the option to look at it in these different ways. And we have our default would be what we were talking about earlier. If we think the default male one would be this way and the female would be this way, but then someone using it could adjust it to be whatever their preferences are. And it'd be interesting to see if there are what if there are interesting correlations that come out of that too?
Yeah,
that match people's preferred orientation that's different than what the the default, biology-based assumptions are.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, for instance, right now here's Saturn, and Saturn is moving away from this. It's in front of you. It's moving in front of you. Whereas before it was approaching behind you, it was behind you, it's coming up to you. But if this figure was reversed, that would be the exact opposite for them. They would have a different sensation of that. And maybe that would be meaningful. It's like maybe just that alone would be, how does that make me feel? What is the Saturn doing?
Right.
It's like...
And also just like the sense here of looking at this figure, like the planet, especially the planet moving through the sacral chakra, or the I identify much more with this energy of the impregnating energy, the penetrating energy of this planet, like moving through and up. Whereas I could imagine the feminine would identify more with that energy coming in and being penetrated. So if the feminine form facing the other way, the planets come in, especially those sacral ones, are more of a moving into from the front, whereas the male one is more of the sending through and out. It's an interesting
male
correlation.
Is outward. The Pingala is outward directed.
Yeah.
Ida is inward directed, so that it makes sense, right? I mean, there's a lot of
and there's this statement or this phrase that's masculine and feminine are going to the same place but in opposite directions. which is like, how does that work? It's like, oh, well, what if it's more of this orientation, and the whole solar system is, moving through space around the galaxy, but the masculine and feminine, if they're, we're going to the same place, but in opposite directions. It's more of this subjective orientation opposition rather than an actual going in different directions. Or like literally going in different directions, but like we're going towards the same place, but oriented in different directions.
I know the Toltec teachings talk about that the dreamer is it hermaphroditic, or anyway, it has both male and female within it, and then it projects a body, which is one or the other. But the dreamer, which is our higher self, contains both. And so this to me is kind of like the dreamer, and he's dreaming all of these possibilities, and somehow, it's not like they're moving in different directions. They're coming together. Maybe they're moving. I mean, at times they are, I guess, moving different directions, or potentially. So there's all these different possibilities.
Well, and that's why I like they're going in the same to the same place, but maybe oriented in opposite directions.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating idea.
So this to me is the most exciting development in this astrology program idea
Nice.
ever. Just the idea of focusing on planets and their relationships. Just ordinary astrology has never really done much for me.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like just looking at the transits or the current state of affairs for all of humanity, that male and the female forms would be in the same position because it's centered on the heart in the now, right? So that also presents this interesting thing of this form is like, oh, interesting. It's actually has two faces and two genitalia, overlapping, but to some degree, it's the hermaphroditic idea, but with the difference of like this opposite orientation, which is also reminds me of that figure where the two faces are facing each other, and then there's a cup that's like the right. difference of it. Yeah. Or there's the mask, where you turn yourself or turn around, and there's the both sides of the
what's the name of that figure? I got a book by somebody. Who's that? Arthur Kessler or something? Janus? The Janus something. So, and also we also figured out that ordinary astrology is focused on just this. They don't really account for any of this other thing going on here. They certainly don't account for a figure and possible gender or anything else.
Oh, yeah.
And this idea of doing the astrology in relation to the axis of the heart is, I think, also pretty profound, with the idea of left and right, because then you have an impact that the planets are having on the left and right side of your heart. And your heart is divided into four chambers, right? But there's left and right aorta, left and right vena cava, or the sides of the heart are separated by Ida is your arterial system, and Pingala is your vena cava system, the venous return. So those are the two sides of the heart, and the impact of the planets, I would imagine, is having a big impact on your heart. So that's That's what you're looking for. And your heart is like the biggest organ. So, and when I say heart, as I was telling you, it's not just the heart. It's the heart, the lungs, and the digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this circle of illumination is the diaphragm.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the lungs above the diaphragm, the digestive system below the diaphragm. So then you've got left and right correspondences of the planets affecting the heart here, 4 chambers. There's so much information here that applies to physiology, and physiology affects your psychology. And
yeah, and that makes me curious, like when, like, you know, there's this little technique you can do of like breathing out your nose on the back of your finger to know like which side of you know, which swara is active at the moment.
I'm on the left side.
Oh, cool. I'm slightly more left as well. Like physiologically, what is causing that? Is it just purely something up in the nostril area, or does it actually have something to do with which lung is pumping harder?
It's the blood, yeah.
It's the blood.
It's the blood. Blood is what I refer to as the organ of subconscious awareness, memory, and drive. So awareness, of course, is at the heart of the Toltec cosmology. It's the first thing that arises out of anything, is awareness of self and other. And the awareness of the unknown versus the known. And blood is what I'm convinced is the source of our awareness. It generates the electromagnetic field of the body and resonates with the solar system as a whole. Our blood, the magnetospheres, and the blood as it passes through the organ systems has a field that mimics the field of the organ system that it's reflecting in the solar system. So, and awareness is it's one side of a two-way street. So you become aware of something and then you react to that awareness. That's the drive. So there's awareness, there's drive. Drive can be conscious or unconscious. But it's all based upon the Toltec idea of making the unknown known and being aware of that unknowns, and that being aware of your own self, which is the known. There she is. Yeah, we need a female perspective on this. And also memory. I told you it's the organ of subconscious awareness, memory, and drive. I think memory is inherent in the space-time, basically. I think that it just naturally accumulates. I don't know how that happens, but somehow I believe that memory has been accumulating and building up complexity from the very first creative act. And that's how that's the only way that you can know the unknown from the known, is if you have some memory of what memory is, what's known. Right? So those three things have to exist to explain life to a certain extent.
Awareness, memory, and
drive. Yep. And my book owner's manual, I talked about you've got the navigator is in the brain. The two drivers, you got two drivers in your body. Ida and Pingala are the two drivers.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So Ida drives for a while, and then Pingala drives for a while. They alternate. And for humans, that alternation is related to eating. So you eat, and you go into Ida. Ida is inward directed, so your attention is directed towards the digestive system and taking care of that business, right? And then after that is handled, then the blood changes. It's no longer transporting food breakdown products of food to the muscles and everything, which is part of the digestive process. Part of what do we call it? We call it the life, energy distribution complex. That's actually the heart, lungs, and digestive system. So it switches from delivering food to the body to and in other words, the portal circulation is no longer the focus. The external circulation to the muscles and to the brain takes over, and that's Pingala. So those are profound biorhythms, which are reflected in the seasonal biorhythm with the sun shifting back and forth, and the date indicator as an indication of the swara. Just like it's not the swara. The swara is in the blood, but it changes your consciousness because of the two drivers. One of them is different from the other.
That's reminding me of in the Toltec naming of the two polarities of awareness. Is one is the I think something to the degree of separative or dividing, and then the other is unifying.
Yep.
And I think that correlates with thinking and feeling.
Yes.
Right. The thinking is the thing that kind of like categorizes, separates this, looks at differences. It's this, not that.
Exactly.
And then the feeling is more unifying. And so that correlates with Ida and Pingala as well, right? Ida being...
thinking would be Pingala, Ida is feeling. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of this is an exciting development for astrology, I think. That's for sure. And being able to see the left and the right and the gender, it's like, man, we...
yeah, and as far as like offering something, or as far as something... there's this idea of to have a successful whatever, a business or an app or anything, it's to offer something new, or, it's find your niche.
Right.
But like if we're gonna make an astrology program, what's something new? What's unique? What's novel about it? And this is super novel. This is super unique and significant.
It's foundational.
And so, should we upload this podcast before we have it built and implemented? And this is our proof of idea.
We'll tease the public. It's like when we get more than 100,000 demands, we'll hire extra help to build this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. How much the Toltec teachings have seeped into monad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on like book 2 at the moment, and I mean, what I like to me, it just makes a lot of sense. It's a way of like making sense of reality, the self, the consciousness, all of these. It to some degree, it's like. It's a naming system, for these aspects of being human, In particular, it's, as it's getting it more into the left side or the irrational side, I'm excited about that because so far, it's mainly just been on the right side or the physical, the rational side, which is, I think, all of the taxonomy or the naming and describing and the techniques related to that are definitely useful, but it to some degree it's so far it's been more of a known quantity or like it's an interesting new map of a familiar territory, let's put it that way. Whereas I feel like I'm just getting in more to the left side of it, the more the unseen, the more the place where words have less direct application or positionality. So I'm looking forward to that side. And I think that is also there's less frameworks or, it gets more into the domain of what religion is for a lot of people. And so it's, I don't know.
What is religion for? What do you mean?
I guess to me, religion as a role in human society or in the human experience is kind of a way to navigate the non-physical, the more the left side. It's more about relationship with the divine, with the unseen. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
Anything else you want to toss on here while we're at it? Put it on the table?
I think that was kind of it, right? I mean,
Resonance Radio. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Thomas.
Another good conversation.
Yep. Cheers.